Hey everybody, it's Liz here. Got another project for you today. This one is for Sacrafters design team. It's my latest project for her shop, and this time I decided to create a layout. And basically I was inspired by one of the chipboard pieces that Sauce sent me. It's this title here. It says, "Never Stop Loving You." As soon as I saw that, I immediately thought about our dog. When I got my design team package a couple of weeks ago, I unfortunately, had to put our dog to sleep. One of our dogs. We have 3 dogs. We had to put one of our dogs to sleep. And when I saw this title, I instantly thought about him, And so I thought that it would be a perfect title for a layout to create of my dog and my husband, because they were absolutely best friends. I mean, this dog was just an incredible, incredible dog. We've only had him 2 years. He was only 2 years old. And if you guys have ever watched the movie Hachi, A Dog's Tale, it's such a sad movie. But he always reminded me of the relationship that the husband, Richard Gere's character had with the dog, Hachi. They were like really close and inseparable. My husband would leave to work and my dog would go to the door and whine. And because he missed him terribly, he didn't want to be away from him. And my husband would be gone all day, and when my husband came home from work, the dog would be waiting right there for him. It was just, they just had like this really great bond, and he was such a good dog. I miss him terribly. And like I said, I know my husband misses him really bad too. That's why I really wanted to create this layout for him to have these sweet pictures and these wonderful memories that we had of our dog. So anyways, guys, the paper collection I used was Hope Chest by Pink Paisley, and I chose this paper because of its neutral colors. It's got some images where there's a little bit of floral print and a couple of, I guess, like country images, like it's got a dog and a bike, rooster, things like that. But the neutral colors is what really spoke to me: the greens, the browns, the ivories. The pictures that I selected are these 2 here, and as you can see, some of those same colors are in the background in the picture. So I thought that it would work really well with this collection, and I just love the Hope Chest collection. It's really, really pretty. So anyways, I started off with just one of the sheets from the collection, and as you can see, I lightly distressed all of the edges. I just wanted a lightly distressed look. I didn't want anything, too crazy. And for my background, I did quite a bit. I did some stenciling up here using Sacrafters stencil. I think I've shown it to you guys before. Let me show you again, in case you guys missed it. But this is the stencil that Sauce sent in my design team package. And it's great. I've used it quite a bit, as you can see. It's really, really neat. I love it. And so I use that along with the modeling paste in certain areas. Of course, a lot of it gets covered up once you do your cluster and your pictures and everything. But I did quite a bit of the model paste stenciling, and then there's some over here on this side as well. And then what I did is I took pieces of tissue, and I'm going to show you the tissue. It's actually, those pattern papers. Let me show you this here. Okay, I took pieces of that and crinkled them up, and then I Mod Podged them in different areas of my layout. And I'm going to bring this closer just so you guys can see. Let me make sure that the camera is focusing. But yeah, so there's like little pieces of, oh sorry about the glare, there's pieces of that tissue in different areas throughout the layout. I just want to show you guys. There's some up here in the corner. There, hopefully you guys can see that. And then this way you guys can see all the texture, the modeling paste stenciling, and tissue that I used. There's some pieces down here, and there's just like little random pieces all throughout. I, just wrinkled them up real good, Mod Podged them on there. I just wanted kind of like the look of a stamp, how there's like the black. So I just wanted like a random look. And then I also used bits of cheesecloth, and I Mod Podged them onto the layout as well for more texture. And then let me bring you closer so you guys can see. See how there's some over here? It looks really cool. And I Mod Podged quite a bit of that, just all over the layout. I love that. It gives it just another cool layer, and you guys know how much I love texture. See So there's quite a bit all throughout the layout. And then for this layout, I used lots of chipboard pieces from Sa's shop. Here I used the brick chipboard pieces that she has. All I did is I took apart, the little pieces that go in the middle, the actual bricks. I wanted just the frame, and I cut it apart and just, little pieces so it could be kind of random. Alright, here, well, first what I did is I just inked it really, really lightly with vintage photo. And then on top of that, I went over it with some ceramic stucco and just took a little thin paintbrush. Hope you guys can see that texture. Once that dried, I went over the top of the ceramic stucco with a little bit more vintage photo. And I really like the way that came out. See? Pretty cool, right? And I kind of wanted to mimic, the grout. Since this is like the frame of the bricks, the bricks would go here in the middle. You know how in the middle there's like that ceramic, I think it is like stucco. I wanted to mimic that, so that's what I did there. So there's a piece of the chipboard brick here, the brick wall, and then there's another piece up here. Okay, and I did the same technique, just vintage photo, some ceramic stucco, a little bit more vintage photo on top. It looks really cool. I really like that. And that's why I love working with the chipboard pieces, because you can do so much. Every chipboard piece that I used on here, I did a different technique. And like here's another one. I used the fence, the little picket fence for her little chipboard pieces. And this one, what I did is I cut it in half. And as you can see, there's half here, and then the other half is sticking up over here. And what I did to this one, I first inked it with vintage photo. As you can tell, I wanted to pick up some of the browns in the paper. And so I inked it real good with the vintage photo, and then I added some embossing powder. The Distress Embossing Powder by Tim Holtz in the vintage photo as well. I went ahead and embossed that, and then I, took my nail and took some of it off. Kind of leaves like a little grainy texture. And then right on top of that, oh, you know what? Looks like I forgot to glue this little flower. How funny. Anyways, I will get back right on that. And then, okay, so back to the fence. So then after that, after embossing it, I lightly went over it with some gesso. Like I dry brushed some gesso right on top of that. Hope you guys can see some of that detail on there. And it kind of just picks up on the little grains from the embossing powder, and it just adds another color, so it makes it look like a little distressed fence. So it's really cute. So that's one of the chipboard pieces. That's another one. And then of course for my title, Never Stop Loving You, the inspiration for the entire layout itself. It's a beautiful, beautiful chipboard piece. I really love the titles. And this one again was just inked with a vintage photo. I wanted to pick up on a lot of the browns. And then all I did is I added distress stickles, just with my finger in random spots, just to pick up some of the little, it doesn't really glitter or shimmer, I should say, but it just kind of gives it like a little grainy look. So I did that throughout, and then I dry brushed some white acrylic paint on top of that. You guys can see that. Okay, so that's basically the chipboard pieces that I used. I had so much fun with them. And then this image here of the flowers, once I did all the background work. Oh, and I also did some paint, like not necessarily splatters, but I took like a wadded up piece of tissue and I wadded it up, dipped it in some paint, and then just randomly went over the entire layout. So there's some, splotches of green, some over here as well, and some brown. There's also a little bit of white, just all over, just for more color. I did that a lot over here, if you guys can see that. Right over the modeling paste. There's some in the corner. Just all over the page. Just added more color with my paint. I didn't want to use the sprays this time because I didn't want to cover a lot of the paper. Like I said, I really just like the paper on its own. It's very neutral. So the paint splatter technique with the tissue worked really well. So see, there's lots of paint, little blotches going on. Okay, and then like I said, I fuzzy cut this image out of one of the papers, and I just adhered it over the top of the paper here, and I put my title on top of that. And then, let me see, back here, up here in the corner, right on top of the brick, I just added some flowers, and I worked with one of the metal pieces that Sa sent me. These are gorgeous, aren't they? Look at these metal flowers. They're so pretty. I love working with these. And I lightly went over the tops with gesso, just to distress them a bit, so they wouldn't look so, new. So I did that, and then I added some flowers from my stash. This one was white, and I used the Lindy Stampking and Seagrass Green to color it up. And this green is perfect with the Hope Chest collection because it almost mimics that green that's in the papers so well. Went over the tops with some vintage photo, and then just used gesso on top of that. So this, little cluster is really simple. And here you can still see the background, the cheesecloth and some of that tissue, and of course the paint. And for the center here, let me bring this back. I'm so sorry. You know what? Let me go. I'll put it here and bring it closer this way. Hopefully you guys can see better. Yeah, there we go. That way I don't have to hold it. Okay. So what I did here, let me see. There we go. Here in this back image, this was also fussy cut, and it's basically like, about this big. It was like, flower cluster from one of the papers. I fussy cut that out, and I adhered it on there with some little pieces of chipboard because I wanted it to stand out, to give it dimension. So I adhered that on there, and then these are like little strips from, it's almost like scraps, really. I just worked with the scraps from the Hope Chest collection. I added a piece there. There's another piece right here, if you can see that. And then there's a couple of pieces down here of, just scraps from the collection. And I adhere those on there. I also tucked in a little bit of cheesecloth in here, and then in some areas over here, as you can see. And then I did more fussy cutting from some of the leaves. And then this is like a little flower with more leaves. And I adhere those in the back. And then down here is just another leaf that was fussy cut from the collection as well. For my flower cluster, again, I used one of the beautiful metal flowers from Saw's shop, and again, I just used gesso on the tops of them. It picks up on some of these little ridges and the lines and the details of the flower. It looks really pretty. And then this particular flower here, I picked up, it's a Recollections flower, so I picked up at Michael's, and it was white. And again, I used the Lindy Stampking in Seagrass Green. I colored that up real nice. Let me bring it a little closer so you guys can see the pretty flower. Look how beautiful that came out, right? The Seagrass Green is just a perfect color, like I said. And then I lightly went over the tops of it with vintage photo, and then dry brushed some gesso right on top of that. Came out really pretty. It matches so well. And then over here, this is just a flower from my stash, and this is already brown. I just gessoed the tops of it, that's all. And then this little flower that I forgot to adhere is also from my stash. I'm going to go ahead and use some hot glue and adhere them now. But I think this was a little Kaiser Craft flower. It's from an old collection. I just tuck him right there between the flowers. So really cute, really simple, you guys. And like I said, there's some cheesecloth down here. And that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep it, very neutral and, of course, masculine, because this is going to be for my husband. And, our dog was a male, so I didn't want to make it all, girly and whatever. But I'm really happy with the way that it came out. I love the background. The background with the modeling paste and the gesso and the tissue and the cheesecloth, everything in there. It's really cool. Came out really neat. And, I still just basically focused here. This is, where all the embellishments are. And, the two lovely pictures. I love those pictures. I hope you guys got a good look. But, just look how sweet my doggy was. I miss him so much. His name was Jupiter. Not named after the planet, but named after the Roman god. My hubby and I were on that big Spartacus kick for a while, so we named him Jupiter, and he was such a sweetheart. I love this picture right here. My husband's pretending like he's sleeping, and my dog just jumped on top, and he got all in his face. So sweet. And then just look at the top photo. The way he's just looking at my hubby. You could just see the love. I love that. So sweet. Oh, I forgot to mention, I added another daisy here. This is a daisy from my stash. I just cut in half, and I added like half right here, and then the other half right on top. So, like I said, I didn't want to add too many flowers. I wanted to keep it very masculine. Love the neutral colors of this collection. So pretty. And I had a lot of fun working with all the chipboard pieces. I love working with chipboard. It's so fun to use different techniques on them. Like, like I showed you, everything had a different technique that I used to create that texture. And it gives it such a really cool element. I really, really love the brick. And of course the titles from Saw's shop are always amazing, and that cute little picket fence is just adorable. So you guys gotta go check out her shop. She has a ton of chipboard pieces, titles. Her chipboard albums are to die for. They're so cute. And she's putting together these really amazing kits. So you guys definitely have to check it out. So that's my project for this week. I hope you guys like it. I'm going to give it to my hubby and surprise him. I don't think he's seen it yet. Hopefully he hasn't. But that's it. It's just a tribute to my little dog. I miss him terribly. And I hope you guys really like my layout. I'm very happy with it. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you all real soon. Bye-bye.